Yo, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. TGIF. It is Friday. Carlin, how you doing today?
I played with the bees this morning for a little bit, so I can't complain. Took my kids to
Playing with
school.
the bees. I think
Yeah.
that's you really don't hear that too often. Most people wake up, they take their dogs out for a nice walk, a nice stroll, maybe catch a little bit of sun, but not Carlin Hostert. Oh no. No, she wakes up, she gets the kids ready, gets everybody breakfast, and then spends a little bit of time playing with the bees.
I posted some sweet videos of one eating watermelon this morning. So
Didn't even know bees ate watermelon. Interesting.
Jesse, we have so much education to do on this topic.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Miri, thank you for being here. Thanks for being here, guys. Pam, I love saying her name. She's just the sweetest lady I've ever met. And her name is super fun to say. Every time that I send her a message, I always got to do it in a voice memo because I just want to be like, "Yo, Pam." I love her. Her and Derek have been awesome people to get to know. So thank you guys for being here. This is episode 1 of TGIF. Thank Growth. It's Friday. This is our new podcast sporting our coaching business, The Growth Co. So super excited to kind of kick this thing off. We've got some amazing guests for you guys today. My name is Jesse. This is my beautiful and amazing co-host, Carlin Hostert. She's down there surviving the sweaty, hot summers in New Mexico. I used to live there, so I know what she's going through. I don't envy you. I'm going to stay up here in Alaska, where we don't have as many. It's not as bad, but the bees aren't bad, but the mosquitoes here are terrible. They're like dinosaurs. You got to have a hunting license to kill them down here, or up here, I guess, rather. Crazy. But how you doing today? What are we gonna get into today, Carlin? I am super excited.
I think the best point to start is motivation and focus, because a lot of the times those two things kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You lose motivation, you lose the focus. So I figured that was the best point to start and kind of go over some of the ins and outs of managing that, especially in your personal and your business life, how you can kind of bring those two things together.
I love it. I love it. Well, we couldn't think of anybody better to kick off our very first episode than these amazing and handsome devils. Let's bring them on up.
I love that intro.
What's going on, guys?
Me blush.
Look at you guys, man.
I love
you guys definitely don't look like you ate a handful of Cheez-Its today. I'll tell you that. You guys are like a modern day, like Pierce Brosnan or Ben Affleck or something like that, man. You guys just got that glow going on, dude.
You're too freaking
We appreciate it, Jesse.
That's not me, dude. That's all you guys. I appreciate you. You're blessing us, the rest of us, with the opportunity. For everybody else who's listening to this, or will listen to this on like Spotify or anything else, you're going to have to go back and see these handsome devils. You're going to want to come back. This is an episode where you've got to watch it. You can't just listen to it.
Hey, that reminds me of something. I used to be so embarrassed back in like high school. Teachers would call on us. I had like the reddest face, like bright tomato every time. Every time like someone compliments me, bright tomato every time. This is what I'm getting right now.
It's not that fun, huh?
We're trying to match your energy, and we hope to be at your level. So that's what we're going to try to bring today.
You guys bring it every day,
we were trying to match you guys' energy. We're like, how do we do the fitness thing? Like, do we look like we're shredded yet? Should I wear a tank top? Do I look ripped?
You guys are great. You guys are freaking great. I love it. I wish we brought bees with us. I didn't know we were supposed to bring bees or work with bees before the podcast.
Oh yeah, no.
I missed it.
It's okay. We're gonna have a whole seminar on that later.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just make sure that we go get stung or something beforehand, so we have something to bring to the table, an experience or something.
Well, I'm gonna interject right there, guys. If you don't try to hurt them, they won't hurt you. But we'll save that for the later podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I don't know that I agree with that logic.
Have you ever tried the logic?
I don't know. I've never been stung by a bee, so anytime I ever see him, I try to run the other way. But dude, Jake and Joe, how long have we known each other, guys?
I would say
It's been a hot minute. Oh, it's been at least
a year or something, or a month.
I think it was before, like, I think the end of last year, like, we got connected. But then, like, we started interacting and building a relationship the start of this year.
Yeah.
When we were going to do some things, but then things kind of fell off. But then, honestly, like, I knew we were going to be friends. We were going to still be able to impact each other's lives. So just keeping that relationship, keeping in touch, and sharing the same energy. It's been since like January, I'm pretty sure.
I think so as well. I think that's kind of when everything started kicking off, and we both just kind of got busy. But I have been watching what you guys have been doing, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. It's super infectious, and just to see the lives that you guys are impacting, that's kind of the big thing, man. Like overarchingly, especially as an entrepreneur, I think a lot of people get it mixed up. It's not about the money, but it's about just the impact, man. Profit or impact over profits, you know. And you guys are certainly, no exception to that. You guys are just doing so many different things. I every time I open my Facebook, man, of all the Facebook pages and things that I'm involved with, every time I open my Facebook, and I open my Facebook at least 100 different times a day, and just the random stuff that come up, dude, I'm seeing people just tagging you and posting you and seeing all the changes that you guys are bringing about, dude. It's super infectious. And so obviously Carlin and I, with our coaching and the things that we're involved with, like you said, like we just want to be around that people, because it really is true, man. Like you become the average of the people that you surround yourself with, to include right down to your fitness. You know, if everybody who's listening or watching this, take a look around for a second and look to see the things that impact your life. Look to see the house that you live in. Look to see the cars that you drive, the relationships that you have. All of that is an average, not only of the things that you tolerate, but the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And so one of the things that I know I've wanted to start doing is getting a lot more intentional with my fitness. And naturally, you guys are just the epitome. You guys are the go-to people for that stuff. And I'm going to let you guys kind of share a little bit more. I love your guys' story. I love what you guys are doing. But for everybody who doesn't know, every superhero has their origin story. Why don't you guys share with everybody who doesn't know, who are you guys? Where are you at? What are you guys doing? And how did that lead you to where you guys are right now?
Yeah. Joe, take the first part of our story, and then I'll take over the second part of the story.
Yeah, and Jesse, like, just to piggyback off of that, impact is everything. Me and Jake, like, of course, we know money's in the future and we will always reach different levels, but it will always be by impact and how we impact other people, whether it's through content, through our coaching, whatever it is. It brings fulfillment and so much joy into our lives to be able to impact other people. But Jake, what we like to do, like when we talk to a new group of people or we're explaining our story, we like to break it up into two different parts. The first part of our story is kind of about me and Jake and our story. We grew up like 13 to 14. We grew up these chubby kids with super low self-esteem, super low confidence. And we developed a binge eating habit with Takis, Turbos, Hot Cheetos, whatever hot chips are out there. And so it was hard being a teenager for us. High school wasn't our thing. We got cut from the basketball team, and we were basketball guys because we were just not that athletic. We weren't as good as we needed to be. And so high school was hard for us, and until we found the gym when we were about 17, 18, senior year of high school, and we got super into it, like gym fanatic. We loved it. But the funny thing about that is the senior year of high school, for me at least, I was the most depressed I've ever been. Even though I dropped a lot of my fat, I got some lean muscle on me, I was the most depressed I've ever been. And that's the first realization that what me and Jake do is we help people physically and mentally, because we know it's not about all the looks. We looked good, and we I was still suffering. I was suffering with my own depression, feeling depressed. And so it's more than just looking good, but the confidence that living a physically and mentally fit life gives you is the first part of our story. We built belief in ourselves, and we want to help others believe in themselves. So that's the first part of our story. And then Jake, tell them the other part.
Yeah. Just so you guys understand, our senior year was not. I had a high school girlfriend, and then Joe was more super good friends with our little brother Sam, who we're talking about next. But like he said, like we didn't have the best mental health. Like even though we were lean, even though we were the gym goers that no matter what we were going to show up at the gym, like our mentality wasn't there. The mindset wasn't there. So we were always left empty. And then we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ and LDS or Mormons, whatever you guys prefer. We left on our missions, and this goes into our second part. We were 18. Both of us went to Mexico, Tijuana. So we know. Well, I would say we're almost bilingual. Like I was there for 7 months, and I picked it up and was rolling with it. Joe was there for 3 months, but the backstory of this is not only did we suffer with mental health, we had a little brother that was suffering more than both of us with suicide, like suicidal ideations. He was suffering with depression, OCD, just mental illness was huge in his life. So we leave on our missions, and that crushed him because we were his best friends. We were like the Sharp Trio. That's what they called us. And if you check out our content, there's been plenty of posts where we talk about the Sharp Trio. But we left, and both of us remember the day because we didn't say, our little brother Sam talked about it, but mainly with our parents about his thoughts, what he was going through. And both of us remember that day. I was actually like out with someone I was preaching to or teaching, and Joe, I can't remember where he was at, but both of us knew, like when our leader that wanted to talk to us, we knew something was up. I had no clue like what I was going to walk into, but I remember the call, stopping and pausing, remembering that emotion of him, my mom and dad like bawling, and telling me and Joe, of course we were on separate lines, that our best friend committed suicide. And every time I look back to this story, I'll get emotional because it brings up the rage, the scream that both me and Joe went through that night, the sadness, the confusion, all of that came because our little brother Sam committed suicide when they were on vacation that year, and that was March 2019, right, Joe?
2020.
So we ended up coming home for the funeral, but that kind of kicked off our entrepreneur journey. Like we had no clue that we were going to be a part of this. We were going to be going after the biggest brand in mental health and physical health in the world. We had no clue that's what we were going to do. We didn't even know if we were entrepreneurs. Of course, we hated jobs, I think, from the start, but not until we lost our little brother to mental health, to suicide, is when our purpose was born. And no way I'm saying that it was easy to go through that. It was the hardest time of our lives. But that sort of kicked off the mental health side of it, feeling good both mentally and physically, and finding the results we were actually looking for. We dropped 50 pounds after coming home from our mission because we gained quite quite a bit of weight when we were out, but dropping the weight and then figuring out the mindset behind it, all of it, and figuring out the mental health side of it. That's the second part of our story, is getting people to believe in themselves again, not only with our chubby selves, no confidence, but after losing our brother, we're determined to make this happen in the mental health world as well as the physical world, because both of those are deeply connected.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I can't imagine that gets any easier anytime that you gotta share that. Yeah, you guys can see the comments. Everybody's just, it's an amazing story. I couldn't imagine going through that. At what point did you guys come off your mission and you kind of have this pivot and you decide that, hey, this is our purpose. This is how we want to do it. Now, obviously, your brother Sam was part in that, but how do you decide what that's specifically going to look like? You know, and then how do you also figure out? And I love that you got that. This is a big part in what you guys do, is knowing that there's also like a being physically uncomfortable is tied to your mental durability and callousing your mind. I mean, there's a lot of parallels between what you guys are doing right now and that pivot that you guys made. And for those of you guys who are familiar with David Goggins, I'm assuming you guys are familiar with David Goggins.
Yeah.
Man, I'm seeing it's so interesting, man. But tell me a little bit more, like, how do you guys decide at that point that, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is kind of our purpose? And did you guys kind of find things out along the way, or did you know right then and there, like, hey, this is what we need to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm pretty sure Jake's aligned with me with this. When we got home, there's quite a bit of weight we had to lose for us to be the fitness guys. And like, we're going to be totally like honest. There was a lot of fluctuation, like with weight, and you see it through our content. Me and Jake talk about it all the time. We fluctuated with weight pretty frequently after we came home.
Well, most people do. I mean, I have the missionaries over to my house all the time, dude. And everybody I've talked to, because I'm LDS as well. I grew up LDS. I didn't go on a mission. I joined the military right out of high school. But yeah, most people go out on their missions and they come back gaining weight. And then once you get home from your mission, like, there's always that battle of trying to fluctuate your weight, trying to get everything under wraps, and at the same time, you know, managing this new endeavor, this new season in your life.
Yeah. And that's why we gained so much weight on the mission. Me and Jake both emotionally ate. We were at the gas stations in Mexico getting all the chips, everything. And it was the stress of learning a new language, talking to new people, becoming uncomfortable every day. And we didn't know how to manage that stress. We were feeling depressed. We were in a dark time on our mission, honestly. And so we came back and still frequently like fluctuated with our weight. And it wasn't until we started hammering the mindset. And I love that you brought up David Goggins talking about like mental durability, building mental resilience. That's what it is. Like, honestly, me and Jake had to build a new identity. You guys are going to hear the word identity. Me and Jake we say it every day, because it's everything. We learned that word of identity mainly through like Ed Milet and Tony Robbins, but it's really stuck with our program. And what we help people do is because that's what's really changed us. We had to, in order for us to make an impact with physical and mental health, we had to become a new person. We had to, in order for us to stop fluctuating with weight, for me, it was about a year ago, I had to become a new person and step into a new person with a new mindset. And I had to keep hammering. But I think, like, speaking for Jake as well, it was kind of both, honestly. Like, right after we got home from our mission, it was that trigger, like, oh my gosh, we could turn this into something huge. We could turn this into we could help so many people that maybe struggle with suicidal ideations, struggle with their weight, and take on both of the biggest problems in the world today. But it's also little as well, because me and Jake still battled binge eating. We still battled the grief and all the fluctuations. So in a way, I would say it was both. Jake, would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, I think we figured out pretty soon that we were going to be entrepreneurs. I'm almost positive it was throughout our whole life, but after getting home from the mission, I think it was little by little. And then there was like a time where I think we had a few TikToks blow up about us, our story. We got a big following over there. They were like, we really want to go after something huge and affect people like never before in the mental health world. So it was like little by little, and then we figured out, hey, we're gonna turn this story into purpose and not let it. Sure, it broke us. It was the hardest thing we've been through, but it also built us up into the person we are still becoming to be the influences we want to be in the mental health world and physical health.
I love that, man. I love that. Mindset and fitness, they seem to walk hand in hand. And what's neat about it is, like, right now, like like those are two of my favorite things, man, is mindset and fitness. And doing fitness just has a way, when you make your body uncomfortable and you do things like, let's take, for example, the 75 hard challenge. You guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that the 75 hard challenge is like it's like a fad diet. It's like another internet diet. It's like doing the carnivore or keto or something like that, right? But what they don't understand is it's a mindset challenge.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with fitness.
Yeah.
But the ability to get in there and to stay consistent and to overcome those feelings of, hey, you know what? I'm tired, or I'm sore as hell today. I can't do it. I have nothing left in my tank. But going out there and doing it anyway, going and finishing your gallon of water or reading your 10 pages when it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 midnight, and you're just ready to go to bed, but doing it anyway, they start callousing your mind. And when you take those initiatives, it's neat to see how all those other or how that mindset just kind of overflows into all these other areas of your life. And one of the things that I really loved about you guys that specifically stood out amongst many things with what you guys are doing is, one of the things I heard you guys say within the last year is a lot of the people that you guys particularly like to work with are real estate investors and other entrepreneurs. Can you guys talk a little bit about that and why that is? Because I loved your reasoning behind it, and I just thought there was just it was just phenomenal, man. I loved it.
Jake, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. I think we're super excited because we love real estate investors. I think we niched down to real estate investors in the community that we're building, the coaching we're building, probably the end of last year, developing good relationships with a lot of guys. And we really were, mindset wise, I think that's like the ultimate reason why we niched down to real estate investors. Not only because we talked to plenty of them about their pains on what they have trouble with, like on a day-to-day basis with their nutrition or with working out with such a busy schedule, still trying to close deals. I think we related to their mindset the most, and how much they believe in themselves and where they're going. That's exactly what me and Joe are about, is always getting after more. And we see that in so many real estate investors. They're always hungry for a new mindset. They're always hungry for more for their life. So I think that's one of the biggest things we connected with real estate investors on, is they're hungry no matter their circumstance, I would say.
And to follow Jake, with real estate investors, and it's like we're helping real estate investors and then some solar guys as well, is what we see with a lot of them, whether they're a husband and father or just a young guy just with the killer mindset going after business, we see a lot. They struggle with belief with their fitness and health. Like they struggle with nutrition and their belief that they can do it. And that's what me and Jake have seen is like they have a super killer mindset with collaborating with the right people. They're doing all the things to become successful in their area, their niche. And then we talk to them about a little bit about their health, their journey, their nutrition, and that belief disappears because of how many times they've tried in the past and it's failed. In reality, we've recently talked about this, is your failures and problems shape and mold you into the person that you need to become. And that's what me and Jake love working with these real estate investors, these solar guys, is to help spark that belief, because it only takes a little bit, is to get them surrounded with the right people, the right mindset, and the right beliefs, and they could change fast. Like change, of course, it's over time through the right habits, dropping the weight. It's playing the long game, but also, like guys, you guys have to understand when you're doing the right things, you focus on your mindset, the person you're becoming, your identity. The change is fast because you totally change the person that you are. And so that's what we love working with real estate investors, entrepreneurs, is to spark that belief that they once had in their fitness and nutrition.
Jesse, to be clear, sorry, it was directly related to your question. I think the main reason, and me and Joe rambled on a little bit, but the main reason why we work with real estate investors is simply because you guys are about community. You guys are about environment change. And I think this is what we've talked about that you probably saw. You guys are so, like, it is so important for you guys to get around the right environment, get around the right people, collab. That's all what we're about. We want real estate investors around the right healthy guys, because that is it. Environment is the number one driver for your habits. You guys believe in it in real estate, and you guys don't apply it in health. So we're creating a way for real estate investors to apply it in health so they can start raising their confidence, raising their belief, and still crushing deals. That's why we work with real estate investors.
Dude, I love that. I freaking love that, man. Yeah, I see a lot of similarities as well. And I'm kind of in my own transformation as well. You know, and this is one of the things that I love about fitness and entrepreneurship is there's a saying for a lot of people, whether you're trying to get momentum in your physique and make that change, or whether you're trying to get momentum in your business, when you continue doing the same thing, when you continue tolerating the same thing, you're not going to see those changes. And I love the fact that you guys both brought up community, because community is everything. Yeah. To be able to have that support system and the accountability, is it literally, like you guys said, it makes all the difference. And there's a saying I'm trying to remember exactly. I'm not going to remember it verbatim, but it's basically the gist of it is when the pain of staying in the same outweighs when the, how does it go? Something along the lines of when the pain of no longer staying in the same situation outweighs that fear of the unknown, that's when change happens. So for a lot of people in their business, for example, they're like, man, I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid I'm going to get to a point and not know what to do. And so just not having that clarity keeps people from moving forward, to not realizing that in order to get that clarity, you have to move forward. In order to see that next step, you have to take that first step. And same with fitness. I mean, that's kind of I feel like where I'm at right now. When I was deployed, my first deployment to 2013, that's when I really got into fitness. And at the time, I had just moved up to Alaska. I moved up to Alaska in 2010. And everybody told me when I moved up to Alaska, one of two things were going to happen. I was either going to gain weight or I was going to end up having kids, because there ain't nothing else to do in Alaska. You got some long ass winters up here, bro. So I didn't end up having any kids. So of course I gained weight. And when I got deployed, I didn't realize that I even had like that much weight to lose. But that was the first time in my life where I'm like, holy crap, like I'm actually my metabolism is actually catching up with me now, or lack thereof. And so that's when I got really, really into fitness. Then as soon as I got back from my deployment, we ended up moving down to Phoenix, and we ended up having a couple kids, and my wife was going through nursing school, and that was kind of a stressful time, but I tried to keep up on my fitness, but I've never been in that good of shape ever again as I was on my deployment. And a lot of it, once you start having a family, you know, like, and a wife that works, having consistent meals and things that are readily available, that are nutritional for you to eat, are a lot harder. So I think that's another reason why when people get married or when they start having kids, they start, you know, finding it harder to keep up with their nutrition, with their diet, with their exercise. I know I would do intermittent fasting, and I would fast for 18 hours a day. But then when I'm hungry, when I'm ready to break my fast, I'm like, man, I got nothing ready, and I go right to Cheez-Its. I'm eating my kids' granola bars and stuff, and I end up just in this cycle of not making any progress. And it finally got to a point 2 weeks ago, and I reached back out to you guys specifically about this, and that's kind of where I was. I was that pain of just staying the same. You know, is no longer going to be overshadowed by my willingness to not do whatever it takes to kind of get back into that zone. And it's neat, man, because growth, mindset, progression, self-development, it's not ever a thing to where you get to a certain point and then it's like, I've made it. It's like it's a continual thing. It's a lifelong thing. You got to be a lifelong student of it. And so that's just something that was really neat. I've noticed that even just in the last couple weeks, since we had initially talked about my fitness stuff, I mean, I've seen such a huge growth even in myself, the way that I carry myself, the conversations, the things that I'm doing at work and in my business are overflowing from my confidence and holding myself accountable to the things that I say I'm going to do. And I love how you guys have perfected bridging that gap between the entrepreneur and fitness and mindset, and how all that kind of stuff is like just tied together, because they walk hand in hand.
They definitely do. And funny story, super quick, me and Jake, right before we both got married, we got engaged around the same time. We got married a month and a half apart.
I think that happens with twins, man. Like you guys are gonna have kids at the same time. You guys probably wake up and have breakfast at the same time.
Maybe no. So we were at the gym, and when you go to the same gym, a lot of people, you talk to the same people every day.
Yeah.
With I think he was a father, him and his wife, but we had a couple different people tell us, just wait till you're married and your wife cooks good food. You're gonna start getting fat.
Yeah.
Or they told us like, wait till you have kids. And I don't have kids yet. It'll be a couple of years down the road. I'm gonna build this business.
We'll see. Well, once Jake has them, then you just have them. I think it's
and then I'll just
carry it on. Yep.
No, so we proved that guy wrong. Like after I got married, I went into my honeymoon. I post about it a lot. Super chubby and super insecure, and that's what I talk about. Like, it wasn't until a year ago that I stopped fluctuating with weight. I stopped playing it. I raised my standards, and I was like, dude, I'm not accepting like less. I'm done playing that game of fluctuating, talking about how I'm a fitness coach. And so, that honestly, that comment that guy made, hey, wait till you're married. Wait till your wife cooks good food. You're going to become fat. Like, you're just going to put it on, stack it on. I've become more lean and fit since I've been married, like than I've ever been in my life. And I will, as a father, when I have my first kid, I will prove everyone wrong. When I have my first kid, I'll be in even better shape. That's my goal, is to show like fathers, husbands, that there's more for them out there. Yeah. Even you could be the role model for your kid, not in like a shameful way, like, I'm better, I'm lean, I'm fit, even while I do this, but like to show them, hey, you don't have to have those limiting beliefs that you could only be a husband and father and you can't be lean and fit at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my number one goals. Just wanted to throw that in there.
When it comes to kids, the best thing ever is just proving people wrong with them. Is you can genuinely shape everything about them in the best ways possible. And And people are like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. My kids go to school every morning. And this morning we were walking. They said, Mom, we haven't said our affirmations yet. It's like, oh, man, you're right. We didn't.
That's awesome.
So
That's
I'm
amazing.
looking forward to seeing you prove everybody wrong.
Yes, you'll see it. You'll see it.
Dude, there's a saying, man, the best revenge is massive success.
Heck yeah. I love
There's
that.
also another saying, and I would love to kind of pick your guys' brain on it, because I think this is also a thing that keeps, like, using the 75 hard as an example. And it doesn't even have to be the 75 hard. It could just be the same excuse I gave myself for the last 10 years since since that first deployment. Is like you won't always be motivated. So it's important to be disciplined. What are some of the things that you guys do as coaches, as brothers, as mentors to keep that consistency and to build that discipline? Is it something like, did you guys just make that decision? You're like, look, we're done. This is something we're not going to tolerate anymore. Or was it something that built? I mean, I know you kind of talked about your weight fluctuating a little bit. Is that kind of where that discipline started coming into? And then was there a certain point where you were like, okay, this isn't acceptable anymore? Or tell me a little bit about that, man, because I think that's the hardest part. I know a lot of people, especially you see a lot of actors. Leonardo DiCaprio, just as an example, I mean, just because he's the first one that popped in my head. Somebody took a picture of him at the beach, and oh my gosh, he looked like a whale. But man, he's been fit as hell though too. You know what I mean? So how do you maintain that discipline? What are some of the practices and things that you guys do to be intentional, or you would advise somebody else do when they're like, man, you know what? I'm tired. I got up early today. I was up all night with the kids. Didn't have a good day at work, and I just want to come home and chill.
Love that. And Jesse, thanks for your audience. Like, this is huge. Because to be real, like, our excuses are all, I'd say 90% of the time, they're valid. Like, hey, you have kids, they're hard. Of course they are. You just got married. Is it harder to eat good? Probably. Is it harder to get to the gym when your schedule's jam-packed? Yep. Is it harder to get something in when you're exhausted? Of course it is. And what? So what? Like, that's what I want you guys to think about today. And of course, I want to touch on what Jesse was saying about discipline and what are some of the keys we use. But I want you guys to think on your lives right now. Of course, your excuses are valid. So what? Like, are you going to keep telling yourself and giving yourself the permission to stay the same, or to stay where you know you don't want to be? Whether this is in business with Jesse and his business, or is it with your health, or is it with your relationships? Ask yourself, am I still going to keep making these same excuses? But I want to lead with that, because that's where it starts. It starts with our beliefs. Me and Joe love to tie in beliefs with everything, because Jesse, like, our story, we were shredded at 16, 17 years old. Like, that's when we were freaking just shredded to the bone. We had abs. We had everything we wanted. We ended up binge eating, gaining. I was 205 at my heaviest. Joe was like 196. And we had some weight to drop. And then our second part of the story, we were fluctuating all the time. But I think, to your question, I think it was kind of both. Like, we had to unconditionally commit to this new person that we wanted to become, no matter what. I love 75 Day Hard and the discipline it teaches, but I don't want people to get wrapped up in, if they're trying to lose weight or trying to get lean, to get healthy, don't get wrapped up if you had one slip up. I think me and Joe always preach, if you're trying to build these habits, of course there's going to be slip ups. It's how you handle them. So when building this discipline, it's super, super clear and simple for us. It's creating something that you can do forever. Say you have the worst day planned. You have business. You have calls all the way till 7 p.m. You have the kids at 7 a.m. You're trying to say, well, do I just ditch the gym? Do I just ditch my diet today? We want you to create something that you can do every single day, no matter what. That's what discipline to us. How we make it easier on people is create something that's sustainable. If it's not sustainable, why do it? That's
Yeah,
what I want.
Jesse, I know you've read High Performance Habits, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Brendan Burchard, probably one of me and Jake's favorite coaches, and he's taught us to be a better coach to our guys and what high performance actually means. He did like a podcast one time. It's like a couple different ways to make discipline easier. It recommend it. I don't know how you guys find it. I don't even know how I would find it, but I recommend that podcast. A couple different points from there. Discipline becomes easier when we surround ourselves. It goes right back to environment.
Mhm.
Discipline comes easier when you have a community banking on you. Discipline becomes easier when you create a lifestyle with habits that you can do every day.
Mhm.
And I love Jake's first point. It's high performers, winners, those that are killing it with fitness, nutrition, killing it in business, they handle failure differently. You guys have to realize that they handle the failures, the slip ups, way different than you. You're beating yourself up and you're going into a downward spiral. And me and Jake were those guys, so that's why I'm saying that. When I used to fail, I binged. That week usually went to crap. Now I'm a winner. If I slip up, I learn. I learn from it. I learn the triggers. I learned why I did that. The next day I'm hammering. I just keep hammering. That's what winners do. They handle failure differently. So that's just a couple of different things.
Yeah. Like Jesse, that's our biggest things is one, creating something you can do forever, creating the right habits, right? And that's where it makes discipline easier is yes, it takes discipline to create the habits, but then that's when you become, and it's just part of who you are. And then two, it's community. Like you said, how important that is in real estate. It's the same thing with health. We're creating those discipline, that discipline by surrounding ourselves with one, the right people, whether that's someone that we want to look like or feel like, and just our daily environment, like our kitchen, the snacks we have around us, that environment. Those are our two biggest things right there.
Let me ask you, because you guys have touched on accountability and community a couple different times now, and I love that. What types of things do you guys do? Do you guys ever ever walking in the mall or something, and then Jake, maybe you and your wife are over at the Gap or something looking at pants or shirts or whatever, and then you see Joe like running over to Annie M's real quick to get a pretzel, and then you're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" You guys like ever have that? You guys like, what's your guys' relationship like? Because I have Carlin call me out on stuff all the time, and it's awesome.
We're doing good with our water, man. We're doing good with our water.
That's good stuff. No, Jake, the other day, he's like, "Hey, text me 7 p.m. See if I'm getting chips. Call me out on it." He told me that the other day, and I was like, "All right, I'll text you." Yeah, with me and Jake keeping each other accountable, I guess it's what he said, unconditionally committed.
Yeah.
It's like we're both unconditionally committed to impact. And so a lot of things that drives us, Jesse, honesty, and this might not work for everyone because everyone is in different businesses, but we are fitness coaches. We are helping other people physically and mentally. So the vision drives us. I think the biggest driver, if me and Jake get our clients or the people in our community to focus on their vision and how to tie their discipline into their vision, that's when they start winning. I think that's another good point.
That is it, Jesse. Like, of course, me and Joe I think we have both those relationships. We know, by ourselves, we're unconditionally committed to this new version of ourselves every single day. But then we do have that accountability, like, hey, we'll get on each other. If we know there's more for each other, we love to see each other winning. And then it goes along with our community as well. We have both of this relationship. We know, hey, this guy he's unconditionally committed. We're going to check in with him, of course, but it's both of that. I would definitely say that.
What was the last book that you guys read?
I'm literally I'm finishing Power of One More, and then it's one of my favorite books ever. And Dude, honest, you got like a lot of our content is through insights through books. Like we relate it to our story and we blast that content because it's just all alignment, I think. Just beliefs that we align with.
Yeah, I finished.
Oh, I was gonna say to add on to that, guys. I started. I found out Simon Sinek actually wrote books. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So there's Find Your Why is the one I just started, and I feel like you guys might appreciate that one.
What did we read Simon's book Start With Why, but I don't think I've read.
Yeah. Find With Why tops on Start With Why, because Start With Why is like a little bit more. Like, this is important. Find Your Why gets more granular with,
Awesome.
getting that driving motivation.
Love that.
To the book list.
Interesting. Okay, so you guys are doing. So you just got done reading The Power of One More. Shoot, there was something real specific that I wanted to ask you guys, and then I lost it right before the book question.
Whoops.
What types of what types of accountability aside from you guys, because you guys talk about community, it's important for everybody else, but what types of communities are you guys putting yourselves in, and who are you guys specifically surrounding yourselves with so that you continue leveling up, so that you guys don't stay stagnant?
I actually want to add on to that and ask to second question that how do you guys maintain your vision? Like, what are you guys doing to keep that vision in place as well?
Love that. I think I'll answer Carlin's question first. Maintaining vision. I think for me and Jake, and this is what works for me and Jake, it's finding that vision every day. I think and what I mean by finding that vision every day is remembering through going over our goals, going over our why every single morning and night. And so me and Jake take time together in the morning to go over the day, but also like goals and where we're headed, because we love to focus on the future and where me and Jake are taking Jade will fit in this vision, but also at night alone, reminding myself the vision. So I think that would be my answer. Just remembering my vision every morning.
Yeah, that's a huge part of who we are, is a morning and night, and even like midday is remembering where we're heading, and then what we need to do right now to become the person to take on that huge vision. Like constantly growing every single day, reflecting is huge for our vision. It just reality check every once in a while, whether that's daily, whether that's weekly. We love to reality check ourselves and say, well, we didn't hit these goals last month. What do we need to change to become more of the person to get to that vision? But Jesse, I love your question, because of course we're all about community. And I want to start with that one, to level ourselves up. To be completely honest, our community does that. We have some killers in there that we absolutely look up to in business, that are way farther in business than we are, that help our business. Honestly, selfishly, we get to look up to those guys, bring ourselves to that frequency so we can keep leveling up that business. Honestly, that's number one. Along with that is, of course, along with environment, is listening to the right podcast. Every single day we get at least one in, and then reading and going over our goals keeps us constantly growing, constantly leveling up. And then we've had coaches that help us along the journey that are farther along, because of course we believe in the law of environment, the law of proximity. If you get around people that are better than you, there's no way you're staying the same. You have to come up to their level or keep growing to be around with them. Like, that's the reality of it. So we've invested in coaches that help our business and are around the right guys to constantly grow.
And we've been to a bunch of events too.
Yeah,
events are so good, just to meet new people, connect, but also listen to the speakers. And another thing I would add is something simple, but me and Jake like to make a certain amount of personal connections a day. through Facebook. That's how we connected with Jesse. We sent him a video message, just introduced ourselves. And so we're doing personalized messages, like meeting new people every day.
I love that. And that was something that was so unique, man. And I encourage everybody to do that. And I love that you guys pointed that out, because that has been such a fundamental part of my business as well. And the relationships that I've built is making sure that I'm connecting with people and I'm doing it in a way that stands out from what everybody else is doing. And that was something that you guys did that definitely stood out. So everybody watching this, take notes. I think that is a great way to introduce yourself to somebody. Don't slide into their DMs and say, hey, what are you doing? Would love to pick your brain, or blah, 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 blah. Like send a video, stand out, introduce yourself, say who you are, what you're doing. Let everybody know where you can lead with value and how you can come in and help somebody over, that's overall what it is we're trying to do, man. And that's the biggest way to create change and impact, is to start with being a go-giver and leading with that value. In closing real quick, before we part, there was a couple things you guys have mentioned this a couple different times now. And for me, I know it's a really big, it's a part of our business, our coaching program. And it's something that I do personally as well. And that is focusing on who is it that you want to become, and having a clear vision of what that person is, so that you have a direct plan on what you need to do in order to get there. I think a lot of people, they don't necessarily understand who that person is and take the time to think about, how does this person act? How does this person think? What are some of his strongest characteristics or characteristic traits? What is his level of integrity? What is his level of accountability? What is that billionaire version of Jesse? What does he look like? And how does all that get made up? And I'll give you an example real quick. I first kind of stumbled upon this. And then as soon as I started my self-development journey and started reading and understanding what other high performers and successful entrepreneurs and businessmen are doing, that in and of itself is such a huge part, and why we have designated an entire week in our coaching program to just understanding that. And when you really understand that on a granular and even a molecular level, you'll start to see how fast your habits and everything change, how fast your mindset changes. And when I first got into my entrepreneurial journey 3.5 years ago now, I thought I was the one person who could complain about time. Because at the time, I was in the Air Force. Yeah. I'm 4 hours behind Eastern time. My wife was, she still is, as a nurse. She works nights. She was working nights at the time as well. And I would get up at 5:00 a.m. and I would leave my house at 5:45. I have an hour drive to base. I get to work at 6:45, and I would work from 6:45 until about 4 p.m. At 4 p.m., I would leave work and I'd get home at 5. My wife is leaving for work at 5:30. Because she's got to work in Anchorage. She's got over an hour drive in. So we're kind of high-fiving. And at the time, I had 3 kids. One was a newborn. And so it was up to me. I was playing Mr. Mom like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And so as soon as my wife leaves, I'm stuck. And I'm like, man, I've got 3 kids that I've got to raise. I've got to get dinner started. I've got to get everybody fed. I've got to get everybody bathed. I've got to get everybody in pajamas. I've got to get everybody in bed. Had to get my newborn a bottle. I was finishing up my degree at the time, and I had just started on my entrepreneurial journey. Now, if all this wasn't bad enough, we were working the Florida market, which is 4 hours ahead. So by the time I even walked my ass in the door, it's 5 p.m. here. It's after 9 p.m. in Florida. How do you start a bit? How many freaking people are you going to call when statistically you need to be talking to 300 or 400 people at least a day, and your day to do that doesn't even start until 9 p.m. best case scenario at night. And so I had to go through this thing. I felt like I'm just going through these self-doubt and trying to think like, Jesse, what did you do? Why are you doing this? Like, you can't do this. You don't have time. Now is not the right season. Who are you you're just a nobody. You live in Alaska. Why did you think you were capable of doing this? And so I went through kind of like you were talking about, like weight fluctuation. Like I'm kind of going through, this mental fluctuation, because as an entrepreneur, you guys know there's highs And that same day, and within an hour, within a minute, you can go right down here. And then 30 minutes later, you're back up on a high. And it's just this roller coaster of anxiety and emotions. And so anyway, fortunately, being in Alaska kind of helped shape me. But the reason I share this context is I want to get into something that has been really powerful for me. And I know you guys have kind of hit it a couple times already. But I was reading one night I was going through YouTube and I was kind of going through the comments. And I was watching one of Pace's YouTubes. This was 3 years ago. And I don't remember what the video was, but I remember kind of scrolling through the comments. There weren't that many. And there was a comment in there. Don't remember what it said, but it was snarky as hell. And I was like, oh, wow. Can't believe that. And then even more so, I noticed that Pace commented underneath it. So naturally, I'm even more intrigued. I'm like, oh, how did he respond to this? And he responded just the most classiest way possible. The only thing that he replied to this individual was, millionaires don't complain about time. And it was almost like God wanted me to look at that. Because once he said that, when he said millionaires don't complain about time, I had this epiphany. And I was like, wow, okay. So let me think about this for a second. If 90% of millionaires are self-made, then odds are that the things that we're talking about in this podcast right now and the things that we've gone through in our own individual lives, it's probably fair to say that 90% of those millionaires that are self-made went through the same shit. They didn't just have it easy. Not everybody was Donald Trump and had $1 million handed to them. So I started asking myself this. I'm like, man, if they could do it, what am I missing? If millionaires truly don't complain about time, then what is the millionaire version of Jesse? What would he do in this situation? And so then it put me in this frame set that we're talking about. Like, all right, what kind of character traits would he do? What was his level of integrity look like? What kind of accountability would he hold himself to? What would his habits look like, et cetera, et cetera? And so then I had this epiphany. I'm like, oh, dude, I'd start waking up at 3 a.m. because at least that's 7 a.m. on the East Coast. So it's a little early, probably better than calling people after 9 p.m. though.
Yeah.
So then I found out that I could work from 3 a.m. all the way until 7 a.m. till I had to be at work, including that hour-long drive. So now all of a sudden I went from having no time to work to all of a sudden finding 4 hours a day to just make calls. And then after work, I could start time blocking things for, like you guys said, making connections, surrounding myself with other people, growing my network, doing content, things like that, having other business meetings. So then I started gaining traction, but it all started from just that thought and having a clear vision of who I want to be, what does that entail, and how can I take those and just implement it now? Like I don't have to wait 5 years from now. I can start doing that shit now. So I would love for you guys just to take a couple minutes before we part ways and just kind of explain what your guys' thought process has been going into this that has shaped who you guys are right now, and what does that person look like moving forward for you guys?
That's what it's about. And me and Jake work with our clients and community to help them realize that that's what it comes down to, Jesse. It's what actions do you need to take to become that person? What would that person do right now? And once we could get them in that mindset, they start taking consistent action. And we see that shift as coaches. Like me and Jake definitely see that shift as coaches when our client or the person that we're helping, they become that individual and their excuses go out the door. They're done with the excuses that they made and they become that individual. Even though I heard this in Ed Milet's podcast one time, it's like, I'm doing the work right now. Jake, you might remember, but it's like the money's coming later. Mm-hmm. Like with fitness and health is like, hey, you become that individual. Even though the 100 pounds that you need to lose is not happening right now, it's coming later. But I'm becoming that individual and I'm developing the habits so it will happen. And me and Jake, we take on that mindset with our business as well. It's like, hey, we will become that number one brand in fitness and mental health. We are those guys. It's what actions do we need to take right now in the next 15 minutes to become that individual? It will come later. Like that's the mindset shift that we have.
Yeah, because like I said before, like your excuses are always valid. What we tell ourselves is what we're going to believe. That's why we focus on beliefs, because it shapes who you are. That's the number one thing. It's like it's shaping who you are. There's a reason why you get around the right people in your health, because it shapes your thoughts and then it shapes your actions, and that shows who you are. Just an example, our brother Mike Hostetler. He's a killer in the real estate space. He's a business owner. He's a electrical business owner or something. But he owns like 300 or 400 doors, like absolute monster. Like, and he never made this connection with his health. But when we started showing him his beliefs and he started seeing who he is, what that person looks like, even when he slips up, even when he has, he was explaining us his day. Like he had to be up at 4, work until 6, and then home with the family. Even then we see that shift in him. He's going to figure out, because that's who he is at heart now. Yeah. That's what he believes he can achieve, is no matter his day, he is going to work on himself, because he knows that compounds his real estate, that compounds his business, that compounds his relationships, is because he knows who he is. So that's just an example I wanted to throw out there. That's all it comes down to, is who. Who do you need to become right now, guys, in both real estate and your health and fitness, to totally move your life forward? That's what.
Yeah. And one more quick thought. It's Magic of Thinking Big, me and Jake's top 3 books. And he talked, and I'm probably screwing up the wordage, but capacity is such a mindset. It's a mindset issue. Capacity is a mindset issue. So like with Mike, with the people that we've seen, once they believe that they're going to make it happen, whether you have a tight schedule, like Mike made that mindset shift. He believed he had more capacity to do it. And that's like, if you believe you don't have the time, you won't make the time. If you believe that you don't have the skills or the persistence to do it, you won't do it. If you don't believe you can do it for a lifetime, that's not happening. You will fall back to your standards or what you believe you're worth. So raise your capacity level and you're going to start achieving everything you want.
What a way to end episode 1, man. Gosh dang, that is lit. Gents, where can everybody reach out to you? Everybody who wants to jump on what you guys are doing and work with you guys, increase their fitness journey, where can they interact with you? Where can they get a hold of you?
Hey, listen, if we haven't got a hold of you already, go follow our Facebooks, Jake and Joe Sharp. We have our Instagram is at JDualFit. So is our TikTok. Also, our website, JDualFit. That's where you're going to find the community, what we're about. But yeah, I would say at JDualFit is where you can find us mostly. And if we're talking Facebook, which I know in real estate, that's huge, it's just Jake and Joe Sharp.
Awesome. So if they want to work with you guys, just go hit you guys either up on the gram or on Facebook.
Yep.
Awesome. Love it,
guys. Or we're going to hit you up first.
Send them a video, guys. Record a video and send it their way.
Yep.
Love it, dude. Carlin, any parting thoughts?
I have a lot to process now, and I feel good about the walk up the hill that I did this morning. So I guess I'm going to try it again tomorrow.
I love it.
Do it.
Consistency. Love it, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you again for your time, your generosity, for being here. You guys dropped so much fire today, man. So many golden nuggets. I'm excited to get this downloaded so I can go back and listen to it again. And I know I took notes while we were talking. I know I'm going to go back and take some more notes. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for leading with value and just being an amazing gentleman. And coaches, mentors, and friends, brothers, you know, that you guys are. Really appreciate you. Love you guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. We'll be back. Thanks, Busy.
You bet. Have a good one, guys.